Good morning. This is Rabbi Shlomo, first Yeshiva Tsama, Nafshi.
That's before the article.
Continuing on in our learning of Pirkei Avos. We're in the first parak and the eighth Mishnah in Avos. Here ben Tabai, B'Shumin ben Shata, Kiblu Mehem. I'm not yet. Okay, Yaakov, want to read it over for us?
You would have been Shata, you would have been Tabai, B'Shumin ben Shata, Kiblu Mehem. You would have been Tabai Omer, Al Ta'as Asmacha Ke'orchei HaDainim, וכאשר יהיו בעלי הדין עומדים לפניך, יהיו בעיניך כרשעים, ושנפטרים לפניך יהיו בעיניך כצדיקים, שקיבלו עליהם את הדין. Translate?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yehuda ben Tabai and Shimon ben Shattach received the tradition from them, and the story from them, the previous people.
That's actually in reference to Yeshiva ben Frachia and Taib and Arveim. That's who they received the tradition from.
Yehuda ben Tabai Omer, don't be like, don't make yourselves like lawyers.
Like advocates in Basin, yeah.
And when the plaintiffs, the Baalei Din, are the people who are bringing the suit, when they stand before you, they should be in your eyes like Rashaim, and when they leave from you, they should be in your eyes as Tzadikim, because they received upon themselves the verdict.
Let's see, your gears is Tzadikim or Tzadikayim?
Which part?
In the Maimer there,
The Kibble of him is a Kai.
Tzadikayim. We have Tzadikim. For 1 second, so there might be a shoes choice, which happens. Okay, so then.
Because I think I remember seeing Zakayim in my previous edition.
Very well. Tzadikim was Zakayim. Okay. When they were Kabul, when they accept upon themselves the judgment, so now they revert to being Zakayim or Tzadikim. Okay, let's see. You have the Rashi. That's just Rabbeinu Yonah. Okay, so we'll start with Rabbeinu Yonah then.
In Yehuda ben Tabai?
Yeah.
Okay. Yehuda ben Tabai, Shimon ben Shetach, Kiblu Mehem. Yeshua ben Frachia, Mantai Ha'argali. Yehuda ben Tabai Omer, Al Ta'as Asmacha Ke'orchei HaDainim. Lo Devar B'kan B'mei Lo Diber B'kan B'mi Shemelamed Ta'anot Shel Sheker Chaderlo L'Ta'on B'din Ki Adam Kazeh Rasha Gamorhu. So this is talking about someone who makes claims, false claims against his friend.
Right, we're not speaking about someone who's going to be making false claims in Basin for the sake of his somebody else, because he's Pasha to Russia, so he's lying in Basin, making false claims. So we're not talking about that. That's obvious.
Something like that is a Rasha Gamor. The low
you don't have to say that. Obviously, that's so obvious. You don't have to mention that.
It's obvious that someone should not do this. Also can. He yachshaduhu v'dibru alav, because it makes him suspect.
Right.
And people talk about that. Is that?
Yeah. But what's the connection?
Ki avera gedola ki aval pirusha, but
So because. If that's the case, it's actually making false statements in Basin, so there's a tremendous avera, and people can obviously, the falsehood's going to become discovered, and people are going to talk badly about him.
Okay, is that an individual? Because now you have to own him and go to base them, right?
Right.
So what's the difference between A and B?
That we'll have to get into in halacha. That this in fact is, first of all, we have to understand whether or not this statement is going to be finding itself in halach Right?
Correct.
So, because it may be a statement, it may not be relevant to actual halacha l'maisa. In which case, then we'd understand why you have these toin they're abundant that because people they know how to base it and they will make claims for people. They're basically
Right, the lawyers. The lawyers are basing basically. The lawyers in different Torah.
Right.
So that's I understand. Korchat Danayanim is like to see the same thing because they're telling you, okay, if you're lying, we're not talking. We're talking about honest people. So if you go to basin with somebody who's going to tell you what to say and you're saying everything honest, so what is different that and a towing?
That's right. So we'll hopefully be addressing this.
Okay.
What's a towing?
Toin actually means just to make a claim. A tain is a claim.
Right.
Toin the Rabbanan, I mean, he's the one. He's like an advocate. He'll be an advocate for you. He'll be a lawyer for you. You have the person has to go to Beis Din.
Right.
So you don't really know the ins and outs of Beis Din, what's favorable to say, what's disfavorable to say, what could be said. So a lot of times you take what they call a toin Rabbanan. They take someone who's familiar with the ins and outs of Beis Din as an advisor. And he'll advise you what to say, what not to say, or how to say it. Yeah?
I see.
And so that's the question is, how is this different than what we're being taught over here? Here it says you shouldn't be like Orech HaDayan. You shouldn't be one who's Orech the Dayanim, who like sets out the scenario before Beis Din. So we have to understand what that means. So we'll be getting to that in Yerushalyim.
So being a towing is okay, but doing this is not okay?
Well, Amram's asking, apparently from this statement we see that it's not okay, but we see that it is done, right? You see, if that's the, first of all, we have to understand, is it the same thing? Number one.
Right.
Maybe it's not the same thing, in which case what we see with our eyes, Bisman is in our time, is okay, because it's not relevant to what's being said here. Or perhaps even if it is the same thing, so if it is the same thing, we have to understand if this statement is actually taken to be the halakha, and if it is not the halakha, so we understand why you can do what we're doing these days. Or if it is the halakha, then we have to understand how we're doing what we're doing these days.
Okay, the Chahi, Ma'aseh Rabbi Yochanan, Masechet Ketubot, the Meikra Svar. What was the original thought?
The Meikra Svar, originally, I think the Meikra Svar, originally it was thought, based on the more, it was originally thought.
I always thought the Bisarcha lo tit'alem. From your flesh, don't hide.
Right, meaning if you can help defend somebody, you should be able to defend them. Why should you, if you know how to help this person out, so why should you refrain from helping him out? That was at the beginning, right? And the Soif, what did the Gemara understand at the end?
The Sof, Svar Adam Chashuv Shani. In the end, he thought that, I'm not sure if this is Shani.
That it's different.
Oh, right? Shani, that's different.
The Adam Chashuv is Shani, Adam Chashuv is different. Meaning, originally we thought that if you have an ability to help somebody out, you shouldn't hide yourself from helping your family, or we're all Jews, we're all related, we're all family. So you shouldn't refrain from helping him out. And then in the end, the Gemara understood that Adam Kosher is shiny, that it's not proper for a honorable person, usually that's in reference to Talmud Chacham, that Talmud Chacham shouldn't be involved with this. But again, to really understand what Maybe was quoting, which the guy is speaking to more and pursue these days. Go ahead in the meantime, let me look at the Gemara. You can read it, you can read it.
You الذين أمرهم بنفع يوبا نفع فرشهم שלא יצא לבך על אחד מהם ולא תחשוב כי הוא צדיק בדינו, so that you don't extend your heart in one direction towards one of them and say that he must be the righteous one. So
he's explaining here a little bit more. What's wrong with being an Erech HaYadam? What's wrong with being a lawyer, right? So he's explaining a certain attitude that a person has. If you're going to take on the job to defend somebody, so you automatically are going to try your hardest to make sure that when you're defending comes out on top. So that means you're going to try and do or put the other person, the other litigant, in the worst light, and you're going to assume he's wrong, right? So there's a bias here which we're supposed to try and avoid, right? So you have to try and avoid this bias, because there's
By whom? By the basin or by the people?
the Archei Yadani. Why should you avoid being an Archei Yadani? Because what's your business here?
Baruch Dayan, Danim is the advisor?
He's the lawyer, right? He's the lawyer. What, meaning what? Yeah.
But that's what you do. When you take a towing, that's what he's basically doing.
Oh, so he's going in. Rebbeinu is saying, what's wrong with this? Right?
But that's what we're doing today.
Okay, that's another question.
Oh, okay.
Whether we're doing today is the same thing as this, that's one question.
Okay.
Another question, even if it is the same, which I don't know yet, we don't know if this is the halacha. But we're being told, right, you shouldn't do it. We're told you shouldn't do it. Rebbeinu is explaining what's wrong with doing it, right? It seems like a great idea. You want to help this guy out. This guy he's a shoemaker. He doesn't know all of Shas and Poskim, and he doesn't know to answer up and defend himself in Beis Din. So you're a Talmud Chacham. You know all the ins and outs of Chosh and Mishpat and all the claims that he possibly can make. So you'll help him out, right? This poor little shoemaker, Reuven. He's just a little shoemaker. They have this big shimmy, this big businessman, right? And they wind up in Beis Din. So you feel bad for Shimon, for Reuven, the shoemaker, and you want to help him against Shimon. So what's wrong with that? So then was explaining, because when you take on to defend Reuven, the shoemaker, you're automatically, right, going against Shimon. You're automatically taking an attitude that Shimon's wrong. Shimon's a Russia. Shimon deserves all these things, which who says that's really right? So why, if it's not really your machlokus, if it's really not your Indian, why don't you just stay out of it? What are you getting involved with this for? Right? Who says you have a right to look down on Shimon just because you want to defend Reuven? I think that's what Rebbeinu means. Yeah, Yaakov, you think so?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. She'im kain elam lo tadun adin the because if you do this, all the time you will not judge the case according to its Avos. Ki Shri wrote, Rukha, Imza, I'm not sure what Shri wrote is.
A second.
I guess like inclination, perhaps.
Hold on, let me see the expression inside.
The songs of your heart. I like the biases.
Just read the sentence when you're in again, so
Sure. She'im kain, we're under the Kishahu Batlei Hadin Amdim.
Alright.
She'im kain elam lo tadun hadin le'ento ki shri wrote licha imza.
One second. Right. When they're standing in front of you, if you do as being Yerushalyim, Shloteya Likov Elachadman. You have to look at both of them. Why are we being advised that when the litigants in front of you, you should look at them both together as being Yerushalyim? That's in order that you shouldn't incline your heart to say that one of them is the better than the next. Yes?
This is what the court should do?
Yeah, the judge, right. Tzaddik would, in Cain, if so, if they go against it the opposite way,
Shri would arbitrariness.
shouldn't just leave it, right? Shouldn't leave it as arbitrary. So the one sentence it says, in Cain, and that's because if you're biased, if you're not going to look at these both as being Rishoyim, and you assume that one is maybe better than the next, so you're now not going to be able to judge the case according to the truth. Except, why? Because according to the inclination of your heart. being said that you're inclined towards one of them. You're not going to be able to see him, that other one that you're favoring, you're not going to be able to see him any flaws or any lack of you've been given the benefit of the doubt, right? And the other person you're not.
Right. So Kishvirot Livcha is that because of the arbitrariness of your heart. Lo Chichal Livot Lo Kuva. Kuva is like obligation.
Right.
Okay. Ach Ilu Shnehem. Mashiim Bedinam. The Ta'anim Sheker Yuvanecha. However, since the two of them are like so we're going off of what he's asking you to do. Since the two of them are Mashiim Bedinam, Betonim Sheker Yuvanecha, Lo Yivcha that your heart will not sort of like lean towards one of them. Ad Tatsi Adavar, or until the matter comes to light, like the truth of the matter comes to light. Tafsuk Hadin Nachon, and when you like give a verdict on the judgment properly.
Properly, right. Okay, maybe we'll stop here. We're just getting started with this now.